Okay guys, this is Black Raven, and I'm going to be doing a deck profile today. I'm actually going to be posting 2 deck profiles tonight. This is going to be a Buddyfight deck profile, and it's going to be of Magic World, and I actually have the cards now. Some things actually have changed around with the decks, so that's also why I decided to repost this deck. So, we're going to start off the monsters and the size 3s. So I play 3 copies of Dragon Wizard Tempest Wing. This card I found is amazing. It's really good in a lot of matchups where people just tend to sit on like 1 or 2 really big dudes. And I can just like discard a wizard, send him to the gauge. Really easy. For those of you who don't know what he does, his call cost is I pay 2 gauge, and then I can discard a wizard card from my hand to select any one of my opponent's creatures and send them to the gauge. So now for the size 2s, I play 2 copies of Center of the World Mary Sue. This card was a bitch to get. It was really, I honestly couldn't fucking find this card anywhere, but to explain what she does is she has a call cost of 2 gauge, but when she comes into play, I can grab any spell from my deck. Really good. I've moved it down to 3 Genju Sekai, because a lot of times when I do play her, it's good, but a lot of times I'll just have dead copies of her in my hand because I'll already have my field set up. So I don't want to have too many of her. Next is 4 copies of Dragon Wizard Magician Drum. Really good card, call cost of 1 gauge, and then he has the Mega Blast Bunker ability. If I'm at 5 or less life, I can pay 6 gauge, destroy the center creature, and then deal you 4 damage. Next, 5 copies of Dragon Wizard Kinos Axia. Axia is obviously my buddy. Axia himself is a really good card. He has a call cost of 1 gauge. When he comes into play, I can zap myself or I can zap my opponent. And why do I play Axia as my buddy? He's my favorite character in Buddyfight. That's the only reason. Next, 4 copies of Glass Magician Will Glass Art. What this guy does is if he hits my opponent, I pay a gauge, draw a card. He's really good, but he tends to be better early game, better than later game, is what I found out. So next, we have, for the spells, 4 copies of Solomon's Shield, basically negate attack that isn't a link attack. Then 4 copies of this bitchin' fucking card that, I swear guys, it involved me tearing out my hair and like giving an arm and a leg to get these. 4 copies of Nice One. Pay gauge, draw 2 cards. Next is 4 copies of Key of Solomon First Volume. I moved this up to 4 because I found later games, sometimes when I counterspell a couple of things, I'm just stuck with no gauge and nothing to do. So having more Key of Solomons tend to be very useful, so build up my gauge faster and actually do stuff. Because a lot of times I tend to have a lot of interactions during my opponent's turn, so that's a thing. Next is 4 copies of Gotcha. Gotcha's effect states I can pay 2 gauge, and then I can use my opponent's gauge to pay for any of my creature's abilities. It's actually said on the card that it's recommended you use it for Magician Drum's effect. So next for the counter spells, which is what I get a lot of questions about. A lot of people wonder why I play these, which consist of 3 Begone and then 3 Abracadabra. What Begone does is if my opponent would play a size 2 or less creature, I pay 2 gauge and counter and negate it. And then in this state, if my opponent would play a spell, I pay 2 gauge and negate it. So why do I play these at 3? Because I know some people just like to play 2, and other people play Magical Begone. This is just like player preference. Really, I play this because I like the control aspect of this deck. Because this deck really doesn't tend to be very aggro unless I have, like... No, there's not really many instances where this deck can be very aggressive. So I need a way to control the board and to make sure my stuff doesn't die and his stuff gets... And I can disrupt a lot of his plays is what I'll try to do. Sorry, I stumbled over my words there for a second. So next, for the item cards, this is the only item I play. I play 4 copies of Magical Arm Burning Fist. Pretty much I pay a life and equip it, and it can attack even past my center column. Now for the impact cards. 3 copies of Degator Crush Knuckle. What this card does, I have to control a wizard to play it. I can either deal my opponent 2 damage or wipe their monsters. So it's a really good card. Just to say, if I wasn't playing this deck, if I was like running a 72 pillar deck, or if I had the ability to, I would play Diabolic Hardcore in this deck. Because as I do admit, being able to wipe my opponent's board of creatures is good. I feel like that 1 point of damage makes a lot of difference sometimes. So that has been my updated Magic World deck. I hope you all have enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time.